Hi, welcome back to the second half of the OHMazing Way podcast. I'm Beth Reese, I'm the host, and I'm here with Jamie Demeris. And thank you so much already for all that you've been sharing. And on the break, while Grace was talking about yoginos, Jamie and I were talking, and one of the things we both find pretty fascinating, and not to bore you guys, but it's just a little bit about the scientific research about what does happen that's a little to the brain, specifically when you practice yoga and mindful meditation and kind of train your, not kind of, maybe rigorous, and help train your brain to become present in the moment. Different than when maybe you are working out or running, and those things are great. I'm not saying they aren't, but part of what's different is the gray matter in your brain gets thicker, and it's almost like if I want to build, my bicep, I'm going to lift weights to make it stronger. Well, it's the same thing that happens. And when these parts of our brain get developed, and there's a lot more we could go into, I'm not going to bore you right now, but when this part of our brain develops, it makes it easier for us to be in the moment. It makes it easy for us when we are maybe down that rabbit hole thinking about our grocery list or what happened 10 years ago, and we start running the tape over and over and over and over again. We get better at catching it so that we can be in the present. Part of that is our ability to connect with people really changes, and you can actually really be more present with a person. And both Jamie and I have really found that in our lives, that this work around being intentional, creating our day, and practicing coming back to the moment has really made a difference in our lives. So what would you say about how, just building on that, how being present and intentional has impacted your life?
So I guess that's, for me, one of the first things that I noticed that I spoke to earlier about recognizing from the power of yoga is that I saw people differently. When I sobered up in 2006, actually, I'll speak to a quote real quick that I just saw recently, and I just thought it was so powerful because it's so true. But what is the opposite of addiction? It's connection, right? And one of the reasons why we as addicts suffer so hard is we just want to disconnect. We don't feel connected. I know that my first moment where I didn't feel connected, I can name two instances. First one was in kindergarten, and I was holding hands with a girl as we were in nap time on our cots, and the story that I made up about it was that everybody was laughing, including the teacher. And the truth of the matter is I don't know who was laughing. Somebody laughed, and I knew that I didn't feel right, and so I made it a point from there that I didn't talk about any of that stuff and show my emotions or feelings that I had, because it was weird, because we're men and we're supposed to be a certain way. The second one was my first day in junior high. It was my first time in public school. And she already mentioned I'm 6'5", so my first day, the first class was gym class, and my mom had bought me a new pair of cowboy boots. And so I put my cowboy boots on after first grade and walked into the hallway for second period. And as I'm walking down the hallway, I'm like a head above everybody in the hallway, and immediately felt like I didn't fit in. And I remember grabbing those boots, running them back to the locker, throwing them in, and then going back into the hallway and telling myself that I'm going to figure out a way to fit in. It's just one of my winning ways, I guess you could say, for that language. And so it's also why when I drank alcohol at the 6th grade dance, that I knew that that's what I loved, because it changed the way that I felt, and I really felt like I was connected with people, right? Because I hadn't crossed the line into addiction. There was the connection that I was looking for because I'm disconnected. There was a hole, right? And so for me, just to kind of put everybody into the perspective, and I know that I'm not any different than people that aren't in addiction, because there's addiction to drugs and alcohol, which everybody knows about, but everybody's addicted to something, or most people are addicted to something. whether it be food or internet or phones or working out. I mean, some people have addictions to things that are actually good for them, right? And they do those things as a way to disconnect, right?
Yeah.
So me being in 19 years of addiction, 19 to 36, there was a lot of lost lessons in life, right? Because that was my way of life. Building relationships where in treatment centers, because I went to multiple treatment centers, multiple halfway houses. I learned how to be with people, any kind of people. I mean, I was the chameleon that I said that I was going to be in the 6th grade, right? And so when there's a lot of voices in my head that are lying to me. And I believe that's one of the first things that I noticed from the practice of yoga was to take a deep breath in through your nose, connect with that, let it out through your nose. And that when you're in a certain pose and you're feeling like you can't do it, to let go of the voices in your head and connect with your body. That your body's innately intelligent and it won't lie to you. But your mind will trick you and tell you something that'll make you believe that that's what's happening in your body. And it's about separating the mind from the body and starting to listen to the body. And I just thought that was so profound. And I started to notice that there were these self-defeating thoughts that I was having. And the community at Big is so powerful that everybody around you is empowering each other and lifting each other up. It's one of the most powerful communities I've been involved with. And I started to believe some of the things that people were telling me rather than just chalk it off and throw it over my shoulder. I remember one time thinking, wait a minute, does Nathan say this to everyone? And then immediately I was like, oh wait, so what if he does? It's making me feel good. I'm gonna go with it because things are changing and I like the way that I am, right? And no, I don't think he tells it to everyone.
You are special, Jamie.
I am.
No.
Right. He tells it to a lot of people, though.
That's right.
He's empowering. He knows how to listen and communicate.
That art of listening. And now through that, you have shared with me, and I'd love for you to share with our friends listening about how you use intention in your personal life, and then also, if you'll take us on the court, how you use it in your professional life. Okay. And empower others. So you've been empowered by people, and now you're out there empowering others. So what does that look like?
I want to be intentional here.
Crazy.
I will tell you what this looks like so long as we come back to what I ended the last episode on so I can finish that story.
Yes.
Okay.
Deal.
So I was telling y'all earlier that I love my mornings. It's my quiet time. I get up depending on, like, one of the things that I created was this intention to always be on time. So much so that I do it in a way that I waste time. That's what I used to say, right? Because in the past, I was always late or missed stuff. And I wanted to make sure. I mean, I pay my bills that way too. Like, I'm very OCD about paying my bills. I mean, it's not really OCD. It's very unorganized in an organized kind of way. And I haven't missed a bill payment. And I can't tell you how long, because I lived too long not paying anything and owe it. So if I had to go to Orange Theory at 7:15 in the morning, I would get up at 5 in the morning or 4:30. Or if I had to go to yoga at 5:45 in the morning, I wake up at 3:30 or 3:45. Why? Because I can't just roll out of the bed and go work out. That's one. I mean, my age, I'm a little older. And two, the practice of it had me sipping my coffee and sitting alone and quiet and thinking about my day. And so I loved that time. Like, I don't do well when I wake up late. And ironically, that happened this morning. I cracked my phone last night, got a new iPhone, and then my alarm went off, but there was no sound, and I was supposed to meet someone at 6:30, and I was getting up at 4, and I woke up going, oh man, I must have woke up at like 3:50 because my alarm hasn't gone off yet. I look at my clock and it's 6:30, and I just had to own it and go, right? And didn't get to set my intentions, but shortly after I did. And so this is what my routine looks like. And I want to just give a shout out to Buddha Belly Yoga, right? Because she is on Instagram and she is a teacher that taught this class that I was at, and we met and we connected on Instagram, and she would give 3 gratefuls a day and she would post them on Instagram. Now, I want to say too that when I first started doing Orange Theory, like you get a result sent to you at the end of class that tells you the effort that you put. And one of the things that I need as an addict is instant gratification. That was it. I also need accountability. And accountability, if you miss your appointment, you get charged, even though you're paying a monthly fee. That's my accountability, right? And so I also started posting my results online. And I didn't, at first, you know, it was, wow, look what I did today. Wow, look what I did. And then I started to notice that this was almost like my own accountability. And I did it for months. And people started making fun of me. But what they didn't know was the 2 or 3 people that would instant message me over the months telling me that I inspired them and I was making a difference for them to get into the gym and to do something about them for their life. That made it worth every time somebody made fun of how much I posted on Orange Theory.
So you see, again, your sharing, Jamie, had a ripple effect and impacted other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Buddha Belly Yoga, Fanny Quattrone, she was the one who was posting the 3 gratefuls on Instagram, and I sent her a message and said, I really like that, because there was something she had said one day, and she said, why don't you do it with me and we'll make a movement? And so I was like, yeah. And so I thought I had created this unique hashtag, right? Attitude of gratitude. And no, it was nothing unique about it. I'm not special. But I just started posting 3 gratefuls every day. And then I got creative with it because I love to get creative. This was like in November, October, right? And sometime in February, I believe it was February, a friend of mine's there was a lady that was teaching a yoga class, and I went to high school with her late husband, and I wanted to go and take one of her classes, and they were doing it at HTX. It was led by, what's the guy's name from Define? I'm drawing a blank because I've only met him once, and it was this class. And he was talking about frequencies and how they're healing, how sound is healing, right? And then he went and talked about how he went and studied up north with someone. And what he said was, we are negative people by nature. Mm-hmm. Like when we cross the street, we look both ways out of fear. We pay our bills to make sure that we're keeping food in our bellies and a roof over our head. And everything we do is negative, right? Or not everything, let me change that. Most things that we do are negative, and that's just the way that we are and the way that we're wired. And he said that if you reversed it, like if you did 2 to 1, 2 positives to every negative, you would not reverse the cycle. But if you did 3 to 1, that you would. And he challenged us to do 3 gratefuls a day for 1 month and see what a difference it made. And I was sitting in that class and it hit me. My life was not the same that it was in November, in February, 4 months later. And I had been doing 3 gratefuls every single day. I remember messaging Danny that day and saying, oh my gosh, like this was so powerful. And I didn't realize it. I never really looked back. But today is just so dramatically different than it was 4 months ago. So much so that some people close to me didn't even recognize me, or just thought that something was just amiss because the way I've been showing up for 48 years was different.
I bet. And let me just 2 quick things to say. Again, there is research how a gratitude practice also really changes your being, and it helps humans to become more compassionate to yourself and to others. And then this 3 to 1, the 3 positives to 1 negative. Hey, teachers and parents, that's also a known like behavior management tool. that if you can track and notice, you know, for every one corrective that you give your student or child, give them 3 positives, and you will see just exactly what Jamie's pointing to. It's that same positive psychology. You'll see a shift in that person's being, because they start to move out of the negativity bias into like really getting and being a part of that positivity. So yeah, I just had to throw that in there for our parents and teachers.
So I'm realizing that I'm going a long way around this, which is what I always do, but I'm getting there.
And I'm right there with you. I know this. It's all good.
So what she had asked me about was setting intentions, and at some point on the 3 gratefuls, I decided to add 3 acknowledgments and acknowledge myself for 3 things, right? And so I started doing that. At the same time, I got involved with this High Performance Habits book club by Brandon Broussard that Nathan Harrington got me involved in. And I just said yes, you know, and in the past, I don't read, right? But I've got the Audible, and I even got the book, and I have been reading. And it's about setting intentions on how you want to show up and being very intentional with your words. And so every morning when I sit down and I make my 3 gratefuls, and I do it creatively. It's not just something that takes me 2 minutes, but it might take me just a few minutes to come up with my gratitudes, my acknowledgments, and the way I want to show up today. But I make it's a special part of my day. And I think about my day and what I have going on and how I want to show up. And then I create a wallpaper for my home screen every single day, where at the bottom, my intention is there for me. I did not do that this morning because I woke up late, but I did set it on the thing. Anyways, wow, that's the first. And I'm okay with that. I acknowledge myself for being okay with that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the intention setting for me, the part that was really powerful was being specific with the word. It actually got me looking up words in the dictionary and finding synonyms and words that would describe it a little bit better. Like being thankful and being grateful might feel kind of similar. I guess the most powerful lesson that I learned on the power of words is mourning and grieving. I always thought they were the same. And grieving is a reaction, as if a part of you has died. Mourning is actually making a choice to celebrate that you had an opportunity to live a life with them. And when I heard that, I was just like, wow, it's powerful. Like, I had no idea there was like such a distinction between the 2 words. And I don't know if those are actual definitions. That was used to me to show the power of choice versus the power of reaction. Nice. And I've lived my whole life in this reactive way. So to set intentions on a daily basis. I mean, I still fall into reaction. I still have my days, and it's a practice every day, just like getting on the mat. And so that's how I set my intentions for the day. And I even took it as far as teaching employees at work this and sharing with them what a difference it was making for me, and me telling them that I wanted to make a difference in their lives outside of work as well as inside of work. And so one day I was sharing with everyone to seeing if they would participate in doing this. And one of the employees had been advised to be more aware. And she got really defensive on this. And the next day was when I started this practice with them. And she said that she wanted to go first. And she said, today I'm going to be aware. And I don't remember what the second one that she picked was. But my eyes just lit up, and I was so proud of her for saying the word aware. Long story short, everybody set 2 intentions that day. We just kept it easy and simple. And then the next day, I brought them in, and to start the pre-shift meeting, I was talking with them, and I asked them, did anybody have any experience with their intention setting yesterday? Did they show up a little bit more powerfully? And she said, I want to share. And so she shared that she was really pissed off because we were really slow that day, and she didn't even get an opportunity to be aware. And then she said, I went home, and normally my routine is I just walk past my sister, give her a nod, say hello, and go inside and go into my room and do my schoolwork. And she said, as I walked by my sister, I was aware that she needed me. And she said, I sat there with her for about an hour, and she would not have gotten that attention from me had I not declared that I am aware today.
The power of creating and setting intentions.
Yeah, and it's not, I want to be aware today. It's not, I'm going to try to be aware today. It's just stating it as if it is. I am.
Declaration.
Fun. Thankful. And sometimes just saying them, even though you can't remember, they get created anyways. I'll tell you that right now. There's times when I pull it out and I'm like, let me just do a check, right? But I'll ask someone, right? Because why do professional baseball players have coaches? They're the best of the best of the best, playing the game, getting paid millions, because they can't see their own swing. And so you have to ask people, how did I show up today, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a tough practice. We're not good at that. And I need to do it more. And, but yeah, it is.
Definitely on the right path. All right, Jamie. So circle us back, take us full circle, and complete this story that you want to share with us.
I am a firm believer that the timing of everything is perfect. Even the way this all happened. Because what we're circling back to is a story about full circle.
That's called the OHMazing Way, Jamie.
That is.
Go ahead.
So when I sobered up December the 13th of 2006, my dad had my last $500. And I called him up and I was like, I need my money. I have to go get help. And he's like, I'm not giving it to you. I mean, we argued back and forth and he finally gave in, but I assured him I was going to get help, right? And I went to this halfway house that was on North Shepherd. And I told the guy that was sitting across from me, Gus is his name. Every December the 13th, I call him and thank him. I told him, here's my $250 to check in. The problem is that every time that I check into a treatment center or a halfway house, I always feel like I still have one high left in me. So I'm going to go and get high one last time just to make sure. And I'll be back in the morning. And to anybody that's an addict, don't try that at home. Please don't, because I got to tell you, that eighth of a mile the next morning at checkout that I had to drive, because the motel that I checked in at was directly across the street, Tropicana Motel. And it was a very hard drive. And what happened was, on the third day that I was there, one of the counselors told me, you need to start getting honest with people. And I had heard that 100 times, right? Tell them how you really feel, right? So I just chalked it up as another one of those cliches, right? Because I was miserable my first 7 days. But on my 7th day of sobriety, I got called by a guy that was working with me, and he said, how are you feeling? And I was like,
don't cuss.
Yeah. I'm not going to be able to tell the story right. Let me just say that I went off.
Yeah.
I hated everything about the people that could stay sober, and I couldn't. I hated the fact that I was in a halfway house. My feet were hanging off my bum. I was 36 years old. I had nothing to my name. I hated the fact that they could do it. I couldn't. I just hated life, and I went off. I went off and used every expletive. I raised my voice. I just let it out. And this paradigm shift happened in me that moment. And I actually became teachable. And I remember going back and just asking to be a part of this group that I was involved with. And then I went and anytime he called me and asked me to work with him, I showed up. Even though 99% of the voices in my head were saying, don't go, don't do it, you don't want to do it. Nothing, no part of me wanted to go. I showed up anyways. I became teachable. And I always, whenever I'm telling my story, say that I wish that I could teach someone that's a newcomer in recovery how to let go. But it's the one thing you can't teach. Mm. So fast forward, that's December 13th, 2006. So on December the 13th, 2017, I am teaching yoga at Sobriety Matters. And the day before, one of my teachers, Marvin Hall, was teaching a class. And he was talking in a pose about let go of all those thoughts that you're having about tomorrow. Let go of all your judgments of yourself from the past. Just take a deep breath in and get present right here, right now with this moment. And I realized at that moment, that's how you let go. You get present to what is. And usually as addicts, we can't. So we have to trust the people that we're asking for help. And we have to let go of all of our plans, schemes, and designs and just be right here, right now. And in my early sobriety, my motto was the next right thing, which turned into my belief that the only place that God truly exists is right here, right now. That he can't be in tomorrow and he can't be in yesterday. That was in 2006, right? And so here we are, 11 years later, and I'm teaching yoga at a treatment center that's less than a mile away from the Tropicana Motel, which is directly across the street from the halfway house that I sobered up in, teaching people in recovery yoga, which is the practice of letting go and getting present to connect. Because what's the opposite of addiction? It's connection. Connection. Yeah. And so there's that full circle. And there was this thought that I just had about, Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. Like, talk about another full circle. So here I am thinking that the only place that God truly exists is right here, right now. And about a month and a half, 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago, right after I did the forum, I don't even know how I stumbled across the book or who told me about it, but I started listening to The Power of Now and about how there is no time. That time is an illusion that we create to measure where we've come and where we're going, which is all designed to take us out of right here, right now. And that in the right here, right now, there is no judgment if you're not pulling from yesterday or thinking about tomorrow. So really everything right now is perfect, whole, and complete. It's the eternal life. And we're missing it because we're disconnected. And we're also human. So we're going to constantly be battling. It's just like a pose of yoga, the Sthira Sukha, the pull the pit of your belly in and up, roll your shoulder blades towards your spine, pull your upper arm bones back. All these cues that you're dancing with and trying to build powerfully and softly at the same time. And it's just this practice that never, ever gets to that perfect, I'm complete, right? And through the practice of it, you just become more present and become more connected and become more powerful in your own life and get to choose the life that you want to choose, and to be able to go back to a treatment center and to become full circle like that and to be able to carry this to them, because I've been in those shoes before. And ironically, things that the person that was working with me had been trying to teach me for 10 years, all of a sudden when I started practicing on the mat, it's like, oh my gosh, you've been trying to say this for like 10 years and now I'm getting it. Why am I getting it now?
And really you're pointing to that, embodying it, right? Like full circle, literally one of the first things you said sitting here today was about getting connected to your body. And when we take everything that you said and get that it all starts with the body and to be present right here, right now, that really is the point of being in this moment, and not that one back there and not this one up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whew. Wow. All right. Jamie Demeris, you want to get a hold of him? You want to follow him on Facebook? You want to come work with him? Check out the show notes, and there'll be all the different ways you can find him, follow him, learn from him, connect with him, have him in your life to be part of your ripple effect. All right, everybody. Jamie, thank you for being here.
I just want to thank you, really, just for being the stand for who you are and showing up the way that you do and being willing to listen and empower me to do things that I'm not comfortable with. Like bold request you to get up at 6 o'clock.
Be unreasonable.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks you all. And remember, share this podcast, watch it on YouTube, and as always, be amazing. See you next time.